Arsenal have been absolutely incredible since the return from the break, and it makes a lot of people wonder what happened on this Dubai trip with 21 goals scored and 2 conceded in the last 5 games, beating big teams like Liverpool, but not only winning, but everybody's playing well for Arsenal. Everyone put in a great performance yesterday versus Burnley and a brilliant performance versus West Ham, where they've scored 11 goals and conceded 0 in the last 2 games. And while Arsenal have been good defensively all season, it's been going forward where the attack hasn't always clicked, but it seems that something's just happened and it's gone click. And a big part of that is the new role of Martin Odegaard. While everyone at Arsenal has been fantastic, there's no doubt in my mind that over the last 3 or 4 games, Martin Odegaard has been Arsenal's best player. But Havertz is important, is finally starting to be seen as well. So in today's video, we're going to talk about Odegaard, we're going to talk about Havertz, we're going to talk about a few tactical changes Arteta has made and why this new role is brilliant. So do hit that like button, of course, subscribe down below if you're new. You can see Odegaard's game numbers up on the screen. Versus Burnley, you can see a 9.3 rating versus West Ham, an 8.9 rating versus Burnley, 8.1 versus Forest, and 7.7 versus Liverpool was insane. You can see he gets a goal and assist. But you can see yesterday he had 3 key passes, 3 ground duels won. When we speak of Odegaard, we speak of a guy that leads the press for Arsenal, that is really good in terms of his work rate, his intensity, his leadership skills. But we're recently seeing Odegaard not only do that, but actually sort of starting to take a lead and build up for Arsenal, drop deeper into more of this 3 role. And just to give you context, since obviously Zinchenko's been out and Odegaard's had to drop deeper in this 3 role with Ben White kind of inverting, these are Odegaard's recent stats. In his last 2 games, he's got an expected assists of 1.27, which is absolutely insane. He's got 3 assists in his last 2 games. He could have had 4 or 5. He's been that good. He's created 10 passes in his last 2 games, 7 versus West Ham. Also created a big chance as well, 2 big chances versus West Ham. He's been unbelievable. They're his statistics from Burnley and from West Ham. And other statistics about Odegaard this season is the first player in Europe to reach 50 open play chances created. And the mad thing is, he isn't near the top of assists, but he's actually, I think, ranked second behind Bruno Fernandes for expected assists in the last year, which just shows how good Odegaard's been and that actually he's created a lot of chances, good chances that maybe Arsenal attackers haven't put away and they're starting to put away now. He's top of the Premier League for most passes into the penalty area and through balls, which shows he's a natural great ball progressor for Arsenal. And obviously he's consistently involved in at least 6 shot ending actions per game, which is insane. And in terms of general chances created, only Bruno Fernandes has created more chances than Odegaard in general, but Bruno does do set pieces to show that yes, Odegaard's assist numbers might not be as high, but this guy has been absolutely incredible. He creates good quality chances, and Arsenal have started to score. There's been question marks about, Arsenal's attack's not clicking. The defence has been solid. Saliba, Gabriel, Declan Rice has been solid, but that left centre mid, that sort of getting through the press, that second phase of midfield, the attack, the front three's either on it or they're not on it. And now we're seeing changes. Trossard coming centrally, the movement Trossard makes, Havertz off the ball movement, Odegaard coming in, dropping deep, and then Ben White inverting so we can push up. And we're seeing all these changes to Arsenal, which is just unlocking the best out of Odegaard, who I think started the season slowly, but we know that Odegaard, when he is right and when he is on it, he's probably Arsenal's best player in a weird sense. I think Declan Rice has been this season, but Odegaard's importance is key. And we saw, versus West Ham, Odegaard pick up the ball from deeper, dribble the ball, play in Trossard, and we know what Odegaard's qualities are. But now I want to talk about sort of the role change, Arteta's role change for Odegaard and why this is getting the best out of Odegaard. So if you've not noticed, Odegaard is dropping deeper into more of a free role. The reason I say it's more of a free role is because I don't like to get too tactical because I'm really not that interested in the whole build-up, shape, all of that. I just like to say football as I see it. But when Odegaard drops deeper, Ben White will invert next to Declan Rice, and Odegaard can drop even deeper, or Odegaard can also drop deeper, and someone like Trossard or Havertz will come into Odegaard's space. And Odegaard's sort of now having this 3 role for Arsenal where he's dropping deeper because you'll see him build up, as you can see the pictures here. There's times where he's just dropping into the first line of build up to receive the ball, and you can see that Ben White will invert next to Rice, so that space is covered. People are covering Odegaard's space, so when Odegaard moves, someone else is covering his position, and Odegaard will get the ball. He's very good with a lot of space in front of him. He can recycle the ball, he can move the ball forward, he can pick out space, he can do those quick 1-2s, he can play through the press. He's very press resistant. He's got all those qualities, and then as Odegaard will progress the ball up the pitch, because he's a natural carrier, natural progressor via passing, via carries, Ben White will then invert behind him and cover the space behind him, so then Odegaard can push really high up the pitch and essentially just be the guy that does everything. Now, why does playing Odegaard deeper work? And I think this gets the best out of Odegaard playing him deeper because he gets the ball more and he gets the ball more with space in front of him. He's a natural ball progressor, as I've said, whether it's through carries, whether it's through passing. There's no ball progressor that's really better than Odegaard. He's one of the few sort of attacking midfielders that has the ability to drop deep and dictate games through his progression skills, technical skills, all of that lot. But now he has space to run into. Now he has space and time on the ball. In the past, when Arsenal were doing their normal 3-2-5 and build-up shape and teams had realised Arsenal were good and sitting back and marking them tighter, man-to-man press, Odegaard was really being almost, well, I wouldn't say marked out the game, but marked a lot tighter. It was harder for him to get the ball in key areas. Now he gets the ball where he's got space in front of him and he can find runners, he can find other play with that space. But also you see players like Ben White starting to invert to give him a bit more freedom. You see Havertz dropping deeper to give him an option to play deeper too, because Havertz can let them play over the press. You can see even Trossard making runs where Odegaard can pick him out. But you can see all in all, Odegaard has the ball with space in front of him and he's very good at dribbling into space, playing into space. And when Odegaard's got time on the ball, he's got one of those qualities that not many players has to just pick out a pass and make the right move. And as I said earlier in the season, when Arsenal were playing their normal 3-2-5 and build-up, Odegaard and Saka were very much smart tightly on that right-hand side, whereas now Arsenal switched to more of a 4-2-4 and build up with this box shape, which I will show you a little bit of, but I don't want to get too detailed into because I'm not a big tactical person. You can see that there's a lot more space for Odegaard. So I said, why is this role getting the best out of Odegaard? Because one, he can drop deep, he can dictate games. In his last 11 games, he's created 11 big chances despite playing a bit deeper. We've seen him really take up this deeper role properly versus West Ham and Burnley because of Zinchenko's absence. Ben White's had to invert and he's done that really well. You've got to give Ben White credit from a tactical standpoint of what he is doing, but Odegaard has space in front of him, as I said, to progress the ball quickly, either through dribbling or playing some quick 1-2 passes or playing it long. But what Odegaard does is he can recycle, he can move the ball quickly, he can get Arsenal ticking, he can create that tempo for Arsenal because he's an all-phase midfielder. He's not only a guy that can score and assist, but he's a guy that can drop deep, he's a guy that can lead the press. Every single phase of the pitch, Odegaard is good, whether it's dropping deep, which is what we see Maddison sometimes do for Spurs under Ange Ball, whether it's being in the middle of the park and everywhere. He's one of those midfielders that can do it all. And we've seen sort of Ange allow Maddison this kind of 3-0 and how Maddison shined. And not that I'm really comparing Arteta and Ange, but Odegaard's starting to take up a similar role of he will now pick up the ball, he can get the ball anywhere, and other players will cover his space, but he's now going to drop deep, dictate the tempo of the game, recycle the ball, get the ball moving quicker, but also now he's got space and time on the ball, he can unlock Arsenal. But also, you've got to talk about Arsenal players. We're going to talk about Havertz in this video and how that is now unlocking the Arsenal midfield. So, sort of talking about like more tactical sides of stuff and what's made this work, giving you a bit of detail. One thing I've noticed about Arsenal is Arteta is being more aggressive in his approach. This is now, Arteta's realised Declan Rice is bloody good. All right, Saliba is pretty immense and Gabriel is a beast. And Arsenal defensively is so sound that Arteta's like, you know what? We can commit. We can bring more bodies forward because we are good against defending transitions because we've got Rice, Saliba, and of course, Gabriel. So as you can see here, look at the amount of players that are in the box and in and around the box when Odegaard's on the ball. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 options just in and around the box when Odegaard's on the ball here. Trossard, Havertz, Saka, and Ben White is up there as well. And this is even mentioning that maybe Martinelli, he would be making a run in. And what I've noticed is Trossard being central, his movement, I think, is better than Jesus in terms of his ability to find space. But Trossard all of a sudden will move between the defenders, draw a defender out, which will create space for A, Odegaard to play the ball into Saka, which was seen for one of his assists to Saka, or B, Odegaard to have a passing option for Trossard, where Trossard is very good at manipulating the ball and using his body to make the most out of space and getting a shot off and scoring. You'll see that the movement of Havertz is drawing out space, drawing a player, because Havertz is this big, tall guy. He's got to draw a big defender with him in case Odegaard goes long, and that will open up space if Trossard receives the ball to run into. But you'll see that there'll be 4 or 5 players in front of Odegaard when he's on the ball, depending on if a fullback pushes up. And they'll be in and around the box, but they'll all be making runs, which will be creating space for the other. But also Odegaard has the ability to find that because everyone is sort of pinned back at West Ham and pinned back at Burnley, marking those players. And I'm not a big tactical person. I'm not really interested in build-up shapes and all blah, 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 blah. I'm more of someone that I like to just say football as I see it. But if we're going to get on the basis of tactics, Arsenal now sort of starting to build up in this 4-2-4 box shape with Odegaard sometimes going deep. I saw EBL tweet out this picture, so credits to him. And this has obviously helped Arsenal play through opponents better, play through the press better. We've seen Arsenal sometimes struggle. I wouldn't say struggle and build up, but David Raya helped them in build up. Havertz, given the ability to play long and over the press, has helped them in build up because they're being marked type of people playing a lower block against Arsenal. But this sort of 4-2-4 box shape has sort of helped Arsenal progress the ball and move the ball quicker and build up. It worked really well versus Liverpool, where Havertz was playing striker, and I think Havertz is one of those guys in the big games, play him as a 9. In the games where you're playing against a team that's going to play a low block, play him as a midfielder. But Havertz as the 9 would come into this sort of box thing and play alongside Odegaard, which would mean that Odegaard wasn't swarm with 2 players marking him. Someone would have to sort of come out and mark Havertz, which would allow Odegaard to receive the ball with a bit more space, or be easier for them to break the first lines and play into Odegaard in terms of beating the press versus Liverpool. With Sim versus West Ham, Havertz and Odegaard were very much in that box structure as well. And this sort of box structure has sort of helped Arsenal and build up, because it can allow them to sort of overload the midfield, play players closer to each other, and it just makes the passing angles easier, in my opinion, as well. And we can see that Arsenal are tactically sort of changing and build up. But I then wanted to talk about Havertz, because this video is about Odegaard mostly, but I wanted to talk about Havertz and why I think Havertz has been important. And if you look at the Burnley game, Havertz drew 2 men away from Odegaard, which drew shooting space for the shot. He gave Trossard the pass that led to the penalty, and he gave Odegaard the pass that led to the third goal. Havertz's all-round play for Arsenal was becoming important in terms of what he does off the ball, creating space. The runs he makes draws out defenders, but also when he gets the ball, he's almost getting a lot of pre-assists. And I've noticed one thing, whether Odegaard drops deep, either Havertz or Trossard will go into Odegaard's zone, depending really on who's playing as a 9. And when Trossard drops deep, Havertz can then run in behind. There's been times where Trossard has dropped into Havertz's role or Odegaard's role, and then Havertz has almost gone into Trossard's role, and they've interlinked, which has made Arsenal unpredictable, because all of a sudden Trossard's dropping deep, one man's dropping Trossard, all of a sudden no one's marking Hazard, Odegaard can play it into Havertz, and Havertz can almost get the ball in key areas here. And I think one thing I've noticed about Arsenal, and the conclusion of this video, and what Havertz and what Odegaard brings them, is unpredictability. And you can bring Trossard into this as well. Trossard's movement, Trossard's interlinking and interchanging with Havertz, the fact that Odegaard is in a free role and then people are taking up Odegaard's position as Odegaard moves out of this free role, which makes Odegaard incredibly difficult to mark. The fact that Odegaard can drop deep and there's overload the midfield. Arsenal are now becoming unpredictable. I think teams sort of figured out how Arsenal were playing towards the end of last season, sat in a low block, and sort of figured out Arsenal earlier in the season. But Havertz and Odegaard give them loads of tactical things. And I think one of the reasons Liverpool have been so good is because they've got such an array of midfielders, whether it's Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones, Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, even Thiago if he was fit. Liverpool have been really unpredictable because Klopp has often made changes in the second half, and Liverpool have won the game because of changes Klopp have made in the second half. I think with sort of Arsenal, they became predictable, but now they're becoming unpredictable because Havertz can play as a 9, Havertz can play as a midfielder, Havertz and Trossard can interchange position, Havertz can drop deep so he can receive the ball if Arsenal want to go long or over, avoid the man-to-man press. Odegaard's now going into this sort of free role, but Ben White will drop into midfield in deeper areas to cover it when he goes deep and add that extra body to midfield, but then also Havertz will fill in Odegaard's space when he goes deep, but also Havertz and Trossard can interlink, and the off-the-ball work that Havertz does, the movement that Trossard provides, and Odegaard going into this 3 role and really getting the best out of Odegaard, and the fact that the rest of the Arsenal players are moving and making sure that that works, I think has worked really, really well for Arsenal. And all of a sudden now they're becoming unpredictable because they can play so many different ways and build up. You don't know if Havertz is going to drop deep. Is he going to be a 9? Havertz's runs are quite unpredictable because Trossard's runs are quite unpredictable. They're opening up space for each other, and it's just like something's happened in Dubai and Arsenal, like, bosh. Now, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'm not really a tactical person. I'm not that interested in getting into tactics. I just sort of talk about football, how I see it, and then I like statistics and I show the basis of tactics. I'm not a tactics person. I've never been a tactics person. I think it's a bit boring when you get too much into the tactics and everything. But what I just noticed about Arsenal is just the space that they're creating, and Odegaard having this free role and importance. Please do subscribe if you're new. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Bye.